All right. Thank you for joining the FMA documentary on media information session. We will have a very brief introduction. The graduate program director will talk about the program. I will continue to talk about admissions and funding, and at the end we will have open floor for questions and answers. Tonight we have the graduate program director, Asma Malik, joining us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asma. I'm the graduate program director for the documentary MFA program at Toronto Metropolitan University. Glad to see so many of you here. I'll offer an overview and and can answer questions as we go along, but I'll hand it off to Daniel to introduce himself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Garcia. I'm the manager graduate program administration here at the Creative School. So really excited to have you guys here and we'll learn about Doug Media. And hopefully we'll see some of you here in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Myself, Ilini, one of the graduate program administrators. We also have Marnie Gerbet here you see on the screen and Tonisha Boyle. Once you are in the program, you will get a chance to work with them. Before we begin the session, I'd like to acknowledge the land Toronto Metropolitan University is located in downtown Toronto. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. We have the link below for the land acknowledgement. I encourage you to learn more about it and see why it's important to us. Okay, over to you, Asma.
Great. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about what the MFA degree is and why documentary media is what makes it different from, for example, a degree in journalism where you would do a documentary. So the MFA is to the fine arts what PhD is to the humanities. It's the terminal degree for creative practitioners. If you're interested in teaching, if you're interested in in creative exploration, an MFA really offers the space to experiment and to try new ideas with a degree at the end of it that's recognized in so many different areas. So with this with this degree you can do a lot of things, and the process of being in the program really gives you the opportunity to play with different mediums, different expressions, to explore different ideas. The sort of, if you're doing a PhD, we talk about a dissertation or a master's of arts. You're talking, the end product to receive the degree is a research paper. In the case of an MFA, the culminating sort of work is the major research project. And it's made up of a visual research project that is an expression of your creative practice, along with a support paper that looks at the roots of your work in terms of the research and the frameworks that you're exploring from that. And then the last sort of component of the major research project is the oral defense. And that's when you will be, your supervisor, primary supervisor, and your secondary supervisor will, assess your project as well as your presentation in the oral defense and ask you questions about your approach and your practice. It's such a rare opportunity to create art and to engage with it on these levels. So it's definitely a unique experience. So it's a 2-year program. It takes 24 months to complete full time. You do have to stay in the program for those 24 months. So once you begin in the fall, convocation is in not the following June, but the June after. So it is a full-time commitment. That's important to remember. There's coursework in every semester. So in the fall, in the first 2 semesters, the first year fall term and winter term is when you take a majority of your courses. And this is because people come to the program with different levels of experience and engagement in documentary media, whether that's film, photography, digital media, hybrids of all of those. As we know, when we're talking about when we talk about documentary media, we're not necessarily limiting that to one particular medium. So in the fall term, there's a documentary studies course that looks at, that explores a historical look at documentary as well as a critical look at documentary, fundamentals of media. And then you can take an elective at the creative school. And FCAT is an old acronym for the creative school, not to confuse you. But the creative school offers classes in creative industries, in journalism, and radio, in RTA, School of New Media, in different places. So there is an opportunity to explore beyond image arts. There's also electives within image arts that are open as well in that first term. In the winter term, in the winter term, you're taking more courses, and then you're starting to think about your major research project. That's what the master's project development course is. This becomes, you're exploring research methods to help you with your research and your practice, to think about how you're going to approach your project, what is your research paper going to focus on, that kind of thing. And then, as you can see, into the spring, summer of the first year, you'll also be working, I believe the course is largely online, on developing your project in further, so that when you enter that second year, you have a good sense of what your project is. You've met with your supervisor, you know who your secondary supervisor is, and hopefully you can use that summertime to do production, pre-production, line up your ducks in a row so that you're ready to go. That's a very valuable term in terms of working on your major research project. And then, as I said, in the second year, there are fewer courses. You're working on the production of your major project, and then there's a theory elective. Just to say that this is not the only time you will get theory. In the first year courses, there's a lot of theory in this program. One of the electives that's also open to first years in the first semester is documentary as oppositional practice. This year, that's been taught by a professor from Creative Industries, Michael Dockstader, who has actually renamed the class Indigenous Documentary as Oppositional Practice, focusing on different ways of exploring this idea of documentary. So, it's not just hands-on production in this class. There is a balance of theory and production. The big event that happens at the end of the program is a festival called Doc Now, that is entirely produced by the students. And it's depending on the number of students in the cohort, the festival takes place over a number of days, to screen films, to have exhibitions for photographic or other media works. And that is a completely student-led festival. They generate funding, they raise funding for it, they plan it, they figure out the logistics, and all of that happens. So now for this, for next year's Doc Now Festival, which is happening in June 2025, the students have begun fundraising, thinking about, okay, this year, I believe they have how many documentaries and how many photos? I just asked this question. Let me just tell you. 13 films and 7 photo exhibitions. So this is going to be quite a big cohort this year. And so they're going to have to figure out how to schedule the films, like at the if when they book a cinema, how many nights is that going to take? What are the different venues, the different galleries to show the photographic works? So it's going to be quite an expansive festival, but that is part of what they're figuring out now. So that's really the culminating event of the program, and that's your major research project that you will be showing, and that's part of the MFA requirement that your work actually have a viewing, and you experience that as well. Oh, this is the poster from last year's Doc Now Festival. That was held, the films were shown at the Paradise Theatre, Bloor in Ossington, in Toronto. If you're in Toronto, maybe that means something, but it's a great theater. And it was over 2 nights. There were fewer films then, but it's incredibly popular in not only with students and their networks, but also on the Toronto Arts calendar. It's very well attended. And then there were I believe that there were 2 photo exhibitions last year. One was we're very lucky at the School of Image Arts, which is where documentary media is housed, to be home to the Image Center, which is an amazing place to show work, not student work, but to show to show art. And students can apply, and it's a competitive process to show their work at the Image Center. And one of the projects from last year, The Test, which was an immersive experience, actually did was able to show at the Image Center, which is amazing. If you go to the Doc Now Festival site, Daniel put the link in the chat, you can review the films and the photo exhibits that the students put on last year. So the current festival is a work in progress, as I think nobody's finished with their project yet, so they wouldn't really want to talk about where they're headed. But that's part of the process. They're putting on the festival while they're working on their projects. Maybe I'll just pause and ask if there's any questions about these particular elements, the curriculum and the program and Doc Now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, I've got a quick question.
Sure.
Are the courses virtual, or are they on campus in rooms?
They're on campus in rooms.
Okay.
With the exception, I believe, of the summer-spring master's project development class. Am I correct, Daniel?
I think, yeah, that one's a little different because they teach it usually, it's instead of 1 class per week, they do 2 classes per week, so that you have more time, less time in class, and then you have the rest of the time to go out and shoot your project, photograph, whatever you're doing for the spring, summer. So it's a 6-week course instead of a 12-week course in that particular case.
But every other, every course is in person.
Okay, that's just different than I'm glad I asked. It's different than what I was told last time. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I have a question. I'm really interested in documentary animation, and I'm wondering if you have any electives that are about animation specifically for documentary filmmaking.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what kinds of things are there, if you've got specific things that you're inspired by, or I can maybe be a bit more specific.
Yeah, I mean, previously I've done direct animation on celluloid, but I'm really interested in learning all different animation styles. So I'm just wondering what kind of classes you have in that subject.
So specifically, that's not a strength of our school. We don't have animation classes. So that would be skills that you would bring to the program. The work is it's multiple mediums. It's largely there's no instruction specifically, like production instruction. There is film and photography. There is instruction in digital media, but not specifically in animation.
Thank you.
Can I jump in too?
In terms of electives, like we are part of the creative school, right? Which it houses 9 different schools. One of them will be the RTA School of Media. They might be mostly undergraduate courses, but they do have a couple courses in animation. So, for example, students who are in the doc media program could potentially take as an audit class in some of those undergraduate courses. So if you're looking for those extra little skills in terms of animation specifically, that might be something that could be a possibility. So you're a graduate student, you're completing the courses of the graduate program, but then if you're looking for something more specific like that, you could potentially audit the undergraduate classes if they're offered in the RTA School of Media, for example, and then maybe another ones around there. I'll put the
That would be
the
helpful.
course listing there in the chat for you, so you can take a look there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see a question in the chat about the admission requirements. Yes, I will talk about that after we play the video. So thank you for asking that question. If you guys don't have any more questions, should I play the video now?
Go ahead. Thank you. Oh, there's one more question. Yes, go ahead,
Just
James.
one question. I keep hearing photography and digital together. Is there photography and film?
Yes, it's all of those. There's no
Okay.
like siloing
Okay.
of different.
Thank you.
No worries.
Hi, Asma. Do you have any comments for the video, or should I go?
No, you can go ahead. That's just
yeah.
that's the year before, I think.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right, okay. So I'm gonna continue with the admissions and funding opportunities. Is my screen is full screen, or you can see my links on the top? Something changed, right? Okay, let me fix it. All right. Okay, here we go. To begin with, I'd like to introduce Yale School of Postdoctoral Graduate Studies, shorter one in YSGPS. Some of you might already familiar with the YSGPS website. It has tons of information. YSGPS oversees all the graduate programs at the school. From administration, admissions, marketing, promotions, scholarships, and funding, and much more information. So I encourage you to check out. For any general questions, for example, official transcripts, English language proficiency, or questions about application portal, related questions, you can reach out to graduate admissions and grad help at torontomu.ca. For program-specific questions about curriculum, major research, Doc Lau, for example, or admission requirements, non-academic requirements, for example, portfolio, you can reach out to the program, Doc Media at torontomu.ca. Let's talk about application deadline. For domestic applicants, we have the first consideration deadline, which is January 20. If you submit a complete application by this day, We will review applications shortly after this day, and we are aiming to send out offers, first batch of offers, sometime end of February or early March. If you are eligible for certain scholarship competitions, we are able to include your admissions application for competition. The application portal is still open after January 20. So we will continue review applications on the rolling basis until the program is full. For international applicants, we do have a priority consideration deadline, which is December 1st, next month. We are prioritizing international applicants. We will review applications right after December 1st, and we are aiming to issue out offers in the third week of December. The application portal will remain open for January 20, the first consideration deadline. We will continue review applications until the international seats is full. And that's also we're talking about if we have a couple of students on the waiting list. The application portal will close sometime by March 15. However, if we still have seats and if you are an international student, but if you are in Toronto, you have standing permit in hand, and that's somewhere we are a little bit flexible with the March 15 deadline. For international applicants, same advantages you should take if you submit an application by January 20. If you are eligible for scholarships that we have, then we're able to include your admissions application for competition. Application process, we have a two-step application process. Step 1, you need to submit an application with the Ontario University Application Center, OUAC. OUAC is a separate entity from the TMU. You do need to fill out your personal information, your educational, post-secondary educational information, and also the 2 referee information with them. Once you complete that with 2 to 3 business days, TMU will reach out to both your referees with the instruction of how to submit a reference on your behalf and a submission link. And also, you will receive an email about the instructions, how to create your online portal, how to upload documents, and also your student ID. So you can set up your application portal. Once you have your required documents ready, you can begin to submit documents there. I'm going to talk about admissions requirements. We have a very detailed admission requirements under admissions on our website. Later, when I talk about portfolio, I will talk about key points. I will invite Asma to share her insights. There are 2 components of the admission requirements. First one is academic. We're asking a 4-year bachelor degree. We look at the last 2 years of your cumulative GPA. The minimum is a B. No matter what institution you come from, graduate admissions will double calculate your GPA based on your institution's GPA scale and convert to TMU and look at your eligibility. For the non-academic requirements, we're looking at a statement of interest. It's about 500 to 700 words. We want to learn more about you, why you want to take the documentary and MFA program, what major research project you want to work with once you're in the program. What's your professional backgrounds, education backgrounds, how those backgrounds prepare you to succeed in the program. And also we want to know what's your career goals after you graduate with us and how those goals relate to the program. Along with that, we want to see a resume. It highlights a list of your post-secondary educational experience, any awards, scholarships, professional experience, if you have anything that stands out that relates to the documentary media program. that also including any community volunteer experience that you have. For the 2 letter of reference I mentioned earlier during the application process, this is something if you are we are looking for 2 academic, so you can reach out to your previous professors or supervisors who are familiar with your abilities. So we want to look at your academic abilities, research skills, your reading skills, your critical thinking, analytical skills, etc. So if for some reason you cannot reach out to your previous professors, supervisors, you can substitute 1 reference with a professional. Just be mindful to remind them that have a reference letter that focuses on your academic skills rather than personality. You can help your referee to prepare a better reference for you by providing the statement of interest resume and have a coffee chat with them, refresh their memories about the particular project you did with them back then, and give them as much time as possible if you begin the step 1 process to apply. That's where they will receive the information about how to submit a reference on your behalf. So ideally, when you begin the step 1 process, and that's where you have already talked to your referee. So when they receive the reference email, and there's no surprise there. So the last part is the portfolio. We have a very thorough portfolio detailed description on our website. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to talk about the key points, but you can always refer back to our website under admissions when you work on your portfolio. For the portfolio, we have a couple options. It depending on your interest, you can submit 1 of the 3 disciplines I'm going to talk about, or the combination of the 3. The option 1, if you want to submit a photographs or photo-based images, you have 2 options. Either web-based image portfolio. The requirements is we're looking for 10 to 15 digital images in JPEG format, resolution of 72 dpi. Maximum dimension is 12,000 pixels on the longer side, no more than 1 MB in JPEG format. Along with that, we're looking for a brief statement about the projects that you are submitting. When you submit a web-based image portfolio, please provide a full URL link. Preferably is clickable and public. If you have a password, please provide a password. For the second option, if you upload an image portfolio, we're looking at the same 10 to 15 digital images. You can save in a 1 single PDF document. And same, we want to learn more about the portfolio, so including a brief statement about the project. The second option is you can submit a film or video materials. That is consistent of experts of film or video that is somewhere 5 minutes long. You can post it as the public Vimeo or YouTube file. Again, you need to have the full URL, so we are able to check out your videos that you submitted. We're also looking for a brief synopsis of the work. We want to learn what's the circumstance of the production and what's your role played in the production. So as much information as there. The last option is if you are submitting an interactive web-based work, you have an option to submit documentations in a form of in photographic form, or video, or via video, or in video format, but from the Vimeo or YouTube. Same length requirements, 5 minutes long, and same requirements for the URL, full link, preferably clickable. If not, we can always copy paste the search engine to check out your portfolio. Statements about the description of your work so we can understand better. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. Asma, and would you like to share any of your tips or hints?
Actually, you've shared quite a few of them. But when it comes to a statement of interest, we want to make sure that we get a sense of why this program, not just like about why this program works for you and why you're thinking of pursuing an MFA in documentary. And I think that will help us understand how your interests align with what the program offers, which is important. Some people list potential supervisors. They go through the faculty and they say, these are people whose work I'm interested in. That can always be helpful. The more knowledge you show of the program, the better it is for us. We're able to assess your statement better. We're also, you don't have to have you don't have to have like a huge portfolio. You don't have to have had extensive experience join the program, but we definitely want to hear your voice and we want to see your voice, want to hear your voice in your portfolio and in your statement of interest. What are you bringing that only you can bring? I think that's something to keep in mind. When it comes to references, as Elaine said, the more information you can provide, sometimes people are coming back to school after a long period of time, and one of the references we strongly recommend be academic. And in that case, it can be hard if you had a particular professor, mentor who maybe haven't kept up with. Just make sure they know what what you're interested in. And again, it's not about personality, it's about strengths and interests and what you've actually shown. So talking about work you've done together, what you've done in that class, the impact that you've had is important. And we realize that asking references for these things does not always mean that they will produce them. So make sure you give them enough time to give you so that they are not, so it's not a last minute thing for them. Yeah, those are my big suggestions. Does anyone have questions? James?
Yeah, I will not probably have an academic reference because I haven't been in school in 40 years. So I'm wondering what kind of
Yeah.
what would I do in that case? I'll leave it open-ended like that, see what happens.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be the first one to be in that situation. And perhaps Daniel and Elaine, you can speak to what you might have seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think at that point, if you don't have that, I would say just make a little note on your statement of interest so that the review committee knows. And then you'll basically have to get, I guess, a different kind of reference, a professional reference or something like that. I think if you had just a small note saying, I've been out of school out of 40 years, like you mentioned, we need, I'm not going to contact your professors, therefore I use, this person and this person, they know me from here and there. When you speak to your referees, the important thing will be to let them know that you're using the reference for academic purposes and to applying to an MFA program. What we've seen sometimes that happens is when you get professional references, there's a lot of like, James was great. We worked well together. Hire him, right? That's kind of the extent of it. And that does not help us in terms of the review committee. We need more information. Why are you great? How you guys work together? What kind of projects you develop together? What kind of ideas? What kind of skills they see in you? So it really helps them write it if you basically sit down with them or have a cup of coffee or a phone call with them and say, hey, this is my application. This is what I want to do. This is my statement of interest. This is all the things I want to do in the program. What do you see in me, or what kind of skills do you know about me that would help me accomplish this? And when you write your letter, make sure you include all of that in there, and the more the merrier in a sense. So that's usually what we recommend for those situations, because yes, obviously, we can't always keep in touch with our profs sometimes, and that's okay. So that's what I would suggest.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, just one more thing, before I forget, your referees will get basically an automated email from the university asking for the reference, so they'll have to upload it directly themselves. So just make sure you follow up with them to make sure that they actually do it. Sometimes it goes into spam and they don't see it. And if that's not completed, we don't get to see your application because it gets held back in admissions.
Great, thank you, Daniel and Asma. This is your time to ask any questions about admissions requirement piece. If you don't have any question or the question come up later, we can obviously answer them already as well. So I don't see any questions right now, so I will continue with the funding, which is a very important part, and then we will go back to questions again. For the funding, we have admissions awards for every student. The admissions awards, you don't need to apply. It's entirely based on your admissions application. When you receive an offer from the program, we'll attach the admissions awards to your offer letter. So there are three types of admission awards. The first one is Toronto Metropolitan Graduate Fellowship, TMGF. Value from 2,000 to 6,000. This is for domestic applicants. We have Toronto Metropolitan Graduate Fellow Development Award, TMGDA. Same value from 2,000 to 6,000. This one awarded to international applicants. And we also have one Ontario Graduate Fellowship, OGF. We award this one to one top domestic candidate, value at 12,000 for one academic year. We have a program awards. Once you're in the program, we will reach out to you when each award is available and open for applications. So we will notify you by email once you're in the program. We have internal funding. The one I'm talking about is right now is Bridging Divines Entrance Scholarship. This one offers a limit number of stipends to Doc Media, FMA, and all other graduate programs. The student who, if you have a research topic that is related to one of the bridging device for research things, those ones, let me refresh my memory. And the first one is immigration, health, and well-being. The second one is employment and lifelong learning. The third one is place and infrastructure. The last one is citizenship and participation. On the website, we're going to share the website. You will see a lot of information about those four research things, the topic and the focus, and also current research project that are going on. For domestic applicants, up to 20,000 per academic year. For international is up to 30,000 per academic year. This stipend is renewable for up to 2 years. Of course, we have to look at your annual review of your student progress and availability of the funds. The application deadline is April 1st, 2025. We also have external funding. We have two big external funding. The first one is Ontario Graduate Scholarship, OGS, and we also have Toronto Med Graduate Scholarship, TMGS. Both at 15,000 per academic year. In order to be eligible, you need to have a minus in each year of your last 2 years. If you are eligible, if you applied by January 2025, first consideration deadline, I'm talking about a computer application, and we will look and double check your GPA in the last 2 years. If you are eligible, we will reach out to you sometimes in around end of February, early March, and then we will include your admission application for competition. We will have the results starting in early May. For the second one is the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council Canada Graduate Scholarship, SHRC. This one is actually 27,000 per year. So they actually updated they increased the funding this year past September. This is only for domestic applicants. Same eligibility, A- in each year of your last 2 years. The deadline is next month, first day, December 1st, 2024. This scholarship, you do need to apply by yourself. We will share the links. Daniel has been sharing the links. Thank you. You can bookmark all those links and then check out the details of those scholarships. For the scholarships I'm talking about on this page, in your second year, we will double check your cumulative GPA. If you are eligible, we will notify you by email. We have some workshops on campus and that help you to write a better research paper and to apply for the scholarships. So if you're eligible in the second year, you can apply as well. In addition, we have a lot of scholarships on the YSGPS website. It categorized by different categories. We also have external scholarships on the same page from A to Z, alphabetical order. So lots of opportunities there. It's all based on your personal status, your post-secondary education backgrounds, and your research topic. Please check out there to say if you're eligible. If you're eligible, those are the great opportunities. If you want to work on campus as a graduate assistant or research assistant or teaching assistant, you can apply for those assistantships sometimes in summer, just before the fall, or throughout the academic year. We have all kinds of assistantship posted in the creative school or other faculty, and so you can take advantage of those opportunities and taking full-time and work part-time on campus. In addition, we have a career boost. There are some part-time opportunities there, and you can take advantages of those opportunities. For domestic applicants, one of the resources you can apply is OSAP. So that's something you can explore. This is the end of the presentation. For the program, you can reach out to the program email here at Doc Media. You can also reach out to Asma directly. The email is here. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other, and please keep your questions coming. And this is a great opportunity. You can ask any questions that you have right now.
Hi, I have a quick question about funding.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm international, so are there any I know that some fundings are applicable to internationals, but what are the fundings that are not applicable for internationals? Are there any?
So the one I just mentioned, the SHIRK, that one is only for domestic.
Okay.
And if you so Daniel shared links for the graduate website. We have tons of scholarships there. There is one section that is scholarship is only for international. So you can check out there.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. The cost of the program for senior citizens. Actually, I received exactly same question before. So I double checked with the registrar's office at university. We used to have this program for senior discount, but we don't have this anymore. So same tuition for either domestic or international, no matter of the age range. Yeah, go ahead, Rita.
Thank you. I have a few questions. One is, do you provide fee waivers for the application fee for international students, like based on like financial need or anything? And then I was wondering like if the senior projects are entirely self-funded or if like you offer funding or resources as a part of like the program. And then I was also, my last question is if you teach filmmaking at all. Sorry, I know that was a lot.
Oh, no. Last question I didn't catch was like there was a glitch somewhere. I couldn't
Oh,
catch
yeah.
up.
If you teach like 16mm or any sort of like celluloid filmmaking.
All right. Daniel, can you? Yeah.
I
Thank you.
can jump into the last one. Yes, so because we're connected to the School of Image Arts in there, and they have the film studies program. They do have 16mm facilities and Embolics cameras in the equipment distribution center and so on like that. And we have our own scanning facilities and developing lab in the building, so you can use it. And students have in the past and have made their movies that way. If that's not something you want to do, you can. Depending on your knowledge of your background and how much you know about it or how you need to do, you may need to take audit a class like we talked about before, just to get some of that background information if you have never used it before, for example. If you already do have the knowledge and stuff like that, it's just a matter of then signing in signing out the equipment or booking the facilities to be able to use it. We definitely have that. We also have the film and photo preservation and collections management program, which is basically fully dedicated at managing film and stuff like that. So you'll have good company in terms of people who are interested in that kind of stuff, with actual film like 60mm, 8mm, stuff like that. There's a lot of connection points, and they do workshops and things like that together as well. So I'll back to you, like, for the other two questions. Sorry.
I think I have to throw back the question to you, Daniel. So can you confirm whether we have any vouchers for international applicants, to have this application fees, 110? Yeah, wait.
So nothing as of right now. We were trying to look into a program to be able to do that. We haven't done that in the past. The university as a whole, as grad studies, we're looking into programs to be able to do anything like that. If it becomes available, we'll release it. I don't believe it's going to happen right now at this very moment, just because of the timing of everything that's going on. So short answer, no. But we are looking into something like that if it's a possibility for future, for the tuition waiver, for the application waiver. Sorry, the thing is, the application fee goes to the Ontario University Application Center, doesn't come directly to the university. So it's a 3-step process. Like, we have to basically deal with them, then to us, and then we can figure out how to do that. That's why it's taking a little bit of time. And sorry, what was the other question?
I was wondering if like the senior projects are like they self-funded, or do you like provide resources to students to like fund their senior projects?
A little bit of both. So there are some of the program-specific awards that Elaine mentioned are specifically to help students fund their projects. There's a few of those that we will let you guys know, and depending on, some of them for international, some for our domestic, some of them are based on what type of project you're doing, maybe to help you develop it. That's one part. Anything to do with equipment, generally speaking, the school can supply, so it saves a lot of money that way, because we have, again, part of the School of Image Arts, we have an equipment distribution center. But also, as part of the Crave School faculty, we have access to some other equipment distribution centers in different schools. So depending what it is, a lot of that we can, in a sense, you can just sign it out as a student, and you don't have to pay for it. So that's kind of like we don't give you the money, but you basically have it with your, as soon as you become a student, you can access a whole bunch of facilities and equipment and things like that. Any other costs on top of that, they may be self-funded depending on what it is. So it really does depend on your project. We've had students basically do the whole project in their backyard, literally, and so their cost is very different than someone who traveled, to a different country to film a particular documentary. It really does depend on the project in that case. But we can always, help you find resources if we need to. Asma, if you have anything else to...
Yeah. So there's also awards. Students can apply for awards in the program, and you can get funding, at various levels. So funding towards your major research project specifically. So that is all, there's also opportunities for that. And honestly, students don't take enough advantage of the awards and the process. Having just adjudicated the awards, I believe the largest award is $2,500 towards the project. But then there's other awards, like smaller numbers as well. But that involves sending a proposal, your budget, that kind of thing. So, you know, we do find ways to support the films or the projects. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. Tara, go ahead.
Yeah, circling back to Daniel's answer regarding camera workshops, does that mean I would get hands-on experience for learning camera works? And how does on-set production work in TMU, like internally in classes or outside a course by students?
That's a great question. I mean, yes to all of the above. Basically, I think this is kind of more of the difference between sort of undergraduate and graduate education, I would say. When you're a graduate student, you basically have access to almost everything that we in the university offer. A lot of it, however, is you'll have to basically ask for it. So, for example, if you're trying to get access to those 16mm cameras, you basically come to one of us, Asma, Eileen, or myself, and say, hey, I want to do this for my project, let's say, and I need to sign out this camera, but I don't know how to use it. And then from there, we'll have to take a look at what options we have to be able to teach you the equipment or show you how to do those kinds of things, right? So it may be a matter of, hey, maybe we already run workshops as part of the Doc Media program at the beginning to show you certain equipment, certain cameras. But if this is something that's maybe outside of that, we'll have to maybe connect you with another student. We'll have to connect you with another a TA, for example, from one of the other classes, or maybe an instructor. Maybe there's already a workshop happening for the undergrads that you can join. So it really does depend on the specifics of what facility, what equipment you're trying to use. But generally speaking, because if we have the equipment, we'll have some sort of workshop happening for it at some point. So really for you as a graduate student, the important thing is come up with that early and not at the very end just before you need to use it, if that makes sense, right? So as you're planning your major research project, try to think about it. I want to do 16mm, for example, then great. Think that from the very beginning and don't leave it until the last semester where you have to finish the actual project or go just before you go shooting, because at that point, that's when it becomes a little hard to get those workshops running. But generally speaking, as long as we have enough time, we can definitely teach you or show you a lot of those things.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Yeah, so we do have camera workshops and sound workshops and soundstage workshops. We do have a soundstage in the building, and those do happen at the beginning of the first year. So in the first term, we do organize those to make sure everyone knows what's available to them, including the dark room and the photo imaging center. You'll get tours of that and that kind of thing. So to Daniel's point, people do come in, and this is a graduate program. People come in with different levels of experience. And so you will need to tailor that. That said, if you do, you know, if you want to do 16mm and you didn't think about it immediately, it doesn't mean you can't think about it down the line. It's just a question of what makes sense. So we have a lot of, I mean, you know, we don't encourage this, but we understand it, given that the program is an exploration of, you know, of documentary media, that if you start with a project, it's possible you might not end with that project. And that's why we don't like to limit you in that sense. But at some point, it will come down to, you know, coming up with your proposal and going forward. So we do try to make sure people start on the same page with those workshops. But you know, like you might need something that other people don't need. And then in that case, as Daniel said, we'll work collaboratively to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, thank you. Also, does that include like post-production editing stuffs like color grading or VFX?
No, this isn't you'll be introduced to those concepts, but this is not to again, to Daniel's point, this is an MFA program. This isn't a technical production program in that sense. There will be like these concepts will be brought up. This will be work that you will do, but they're not specific classes on, for example, color grading or that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Oh, you've had your hand up, Pro. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm already showing you how old I am because I can't work Zoom. But thank you, and thank you for tonight. And my question is, I'm a working doc person? And how accommodating is the program in terms of if my professional experience partners with some of the courses, what does that look like? Or scheduling and things like that, because I've had to turn down a program just because it was too rigid for me. So
Yeah. I appreciate your interest in this program because you do bring a valuable, you bring valuable experience, not just for yourself, but for your classmates and the program. I think that there will be some challenges in terms of the first year because there are so many courses, and it is a full-time program. But I'll turn it over to Daniel for a sense of what happens when, or Elaine, if you know, what happens when you have a skill set that's already in the course, and how do you prove that competency, and then what happens at that point?
Yeah. So yeah, so like Asma said, the first year tends to be the more challenging one in terms of scheduling. You basically have 3 courses the first semester for the second semester. After that becomes a little easier because you'll have like 1 or 2 courses. So depending on how your projects are or where your projects are, there's some flexibility. Um, in terms of like, it's hard to, we would have to gauge in terms of your experience and what your courses are. I have seen where a course, for example, maybe you've already done something like that and you can demonstrate it, or similar to like a transfer credit, right? So you'll have maybe something that you can show that this content of this particular course, I have already done it, I have experience and so on. And in that case, what we can try to do, if there's an actual course attached to it, like a transfer credit, that's easier because then we can just say, hey, you started this program over there, it's a master course, it matches this, we'll just transfer it. If it's more based on experience, generally speaking, what I've seen is instead of replacing the course just based, oh, I have this experience, I have to do the course, we usually do what we call a course substitution. So let's say you've already done, I don't know, documentary studies 1, because you have the experience, you've done all these things, and you basically rather spend your time more on learning something else, something new, something that will help your final MRP, then we can do a course substitution for that course and allow you to take maybe a different course that's more interesting or something more newer, I guess, for your experience. And that we can do easily. It's just a matter of obviously speaking with Asma as a program director, maybe your supervisor at the time, sharing the information of what, how you can prove that you had that experience, or how maybe your work, maybe a portfolio, depending on what the course is. And then from there, make the course substitution based on that semester, which could potentially tie with your question about how do I manage the schedule, because if there is certain things like that do kind of match and we can do those kinds of things, we may be able to, let's say, for example, like semester 2 is like 4 courses, but one of those you already have a lot of that knowledge, you may potentially be able to only take 3 courses and then take an elective at a different term that replaces that course. So there's some flexibility in that sense. It's just a matter of, again, discussion, showing what you know and how we can prove it. Because basically we have to prove it to graduate studies, right? And we have to basically show them, like, this person did this, which is basically have the content, more than half the content of the course, and they have the experience. So instead of doing that, which will give him this course, which is an elective, but it will enrich his experience in the program. That's pretty much it. It isn't all on a case-by-case basis, because again, everybody comes from different backgrounds. But we try to work with a lot of those possibilities because we do work with people from a range of backgrounds, different ages, different some people come in with like 5 degrees, some people come in straight out of university of undergrad. So it's on a case-by-case basis in a lot of cases.
great, thank you. Because yeah, it's more the scheduling. I don't mind learning, relearning, because it will still be different. And ironically, it's because I worked a lot in Toronto and the school was in New York. So that was really the issue. So it may be less of a concern in this case after all. So no, thank you so much. My last question, because of this kind of specificity in, case by case, and December 1st is like right around the corner, is it possible to schedule like a short 15-minute conversation or something between now and then with like a one-on-one or something? Okay, great.
I'm happy
Cool.
to talk. Like
Cool.
we can
Cool.
chat. We can include Daniel if that's helpful,
Mhm.
and or Elaine for admissions.
Mhm.
Just my email. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Great. Thank you all so much.
No worries.
Copy.
Thank you. I see a question for Weda. Is there any opportunity to talk to current student to get a better feel of the program?
Yes. Ajay Rakraj, who is a second-year student, who's actually one of the leaders of the Doc Now Executive Committee, has very graciously made himself available if people would like to talk to him. So Vida, if you send me an email to the email address in the chat, we can arrange something. I can CC Ajay and we can set something up on Zoom.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Great questions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
Oh, Daniel.
I have a quick one. Actually, it's for Vida. We were asking about animation and the in the programs. If you look at the project abstract section of our website, I think it's 2022. I was looking in the back. I think Julia Widman. I think she did an animation film in the program a few years ago because it was during the pandemic. So she basically incorporated animation, stop motion, all within the same project. I'll put the link on the chat for you, just as an FYI. And I think there's a few more in there, but this is the one that just kind of popped into my head.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Tara, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have two questions. One is how big is the cohort or one class in terms of the general size? How many people are in one cohort? And I'm an international student, so I'm kind of curious about if I graduate TMU, would I be eligible for working visa or green card?
I can answer the second part first. Yes, it's eligible for a 3 years postgraduate work permit. However, I'm not allowed to give you legal advice for the study permits, work permits, things like that. We have international student support team. I'm gonna share that link in the chat. They have 35 advisors to talk about postgraduate work permit, study permit, anything related to that. You can book a one-on-one session with them, even right now if you're not a student yet. So let me send that link to you.
And
Just
the
added the
question was
link.
about the size of the cohort.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel's so fast. Thank you.
So
All
we
right.
usually we usually have just under 20 students in the program. You know, it does vary depending on other factors, but that's generally our goal, is to keep it between 18 and 20.
Thank you. Sorry, I just have one follow-up question about acceptance rate. Do you have like a number of acceptance rate for last year?
So the acceptance rate, I would say, Daniel, I would say 1 in 5.
Yeah, it varies every year. It's hard to calculate because the number of applications vary. Like we've had cohorts, for example, this year cohort was like a little more 16, 18s, and previous cohorts were a little smaller. So I think, yeah, 1 in 4, you know, 1 in 3, between 1 in 3 to 1 in 8 and 1 in 5 is kind of the range, the average, I guess, if you're looking for a number. I would really more focus on, and always encourage people to focus on working on their application, submitting everything in there, and don't be scared too much with like, you know, only 1 in 20 people get in here, only 1 in 4. Because you don't know what one person is and what actually got them in. So I think it's important to just focus more on the quality of your application, your work, your statement of interest. Make sure your whole submission admissions package, is like a full component, and they support each other. So each component should really help. If your statement of interest, you said something, make sure the foundation is in your portfolio, or it's on the CV that you have in there, and your past experience. And that's really what's going to help you get into the program. So, yeah, so I would just highly encourage you to apply. And that's, you can only apply, you can only win if you apply, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Any last questions? If not, we have a admissions Q&A session every Tuesday at 12 p.m. If you are not able to attend at that time, you can obviously email the program email. So did we send the program email in the chat? Let me just send that. docmedia at torontomu.ca. So thank you very much for joining the session, and thank you very much for excellent questions. I look forward to receiving your applications.